And the more consistent all of these different references are across the web, the easier it's going to be for search engines to trust that your business is legitimate.
Welcome to Duo On Air, where we help you get seen, remembered, and wildly obsessed over by your audience. We're your hosts, Abby
and Courtney, a pair of ex-agency besties who ditched the cubicles, the Minneapolis skyways, and the corporate jargon for work that matters, with people who inspire us every day. Today, we're a women-powered marketing agency serving brands worldwide, bringing those big agency results without the corporate price tag.
Around here, it's all about what actually grows your business: branding, SEO, websites, and navigating the real-life ups and downs of building a dream while raising tiny humans. We're moms, wives, and best friend business partners in the trenches with you, making the hard stuff feel easy and a whole lot more fun.
So pour a fresh cup, get comfy, because you're exactly where you need to be.
Let's duo this.
Welcome back to the Duo On Air podcast. This is episode number 216, and we talked about citations way back in episode 209, but today I want to zoom in on something a little bit more specific: local citations, local SEO, and your Google business profile. Because if you serve a local audience, whether you're a photographer, a therapist, painter, contractor, dentist, or really any business that serves a specific area, this is one of the most powerful visibility tools that you have. And guess what? Even if you're a service provider like us who can serve anyone, anywhere, are you ever going to turn down a local business? I mean, probably not. We get so pumped when we get Minneapolis and Minnesota clients, and I would love to get more of those. And so there's no way I'm just going to completely ignore local because we can serve anyone anywhere. So let's go ahead and dig into our neighbors, shall we? Let's talk about how local SEO has evolved over the years to better understand what actually matters right now in today's world in 2026 with all this AI craziness. So I want to start by talking about the difference between a local citation and a citation. Because if you tuned into episode 209, you heard us talk a lot about getting cited in AI. And getting cited in an AI is one thing, but a local citation is actually something completely different. So a local citation is a mention of your business, and specifically your business's name, address, and phone number, which oftentimes you'll see written as NAP. And you'll see this everywhere. Make sure your NAP is consistent. Make sure your NAP is the same across every single platform. So what we're talking about here, an example of places where you could have these local citations are Google business profiles, Apple Maps, Yelp, Bing Places, Facebook business pages, maybe other features in local blogs or news or website articles, other local industry directories, think things like The Knot or Psychology Today. The purpose of these citations, it's actually really simple. They help search engines verify that your business exists, number one, and confirm that all the information about your business is accurate. So I want you to think of them as like digital references for your business. And the more consistent all of these different references are across the web, the easier it's going to be for search engines to trust that your business is legitimate. So the old local SEO growth strategy was to build as many directory listings as possible. People would pay agencies big money, and honestly, they still do, to buy links on all different kinds of random websites, because back then, more citations meant better rankings, regardless of how credible the website was. That strategy does not work anymore, and you will still see people out there marketing it. But here's the deal. The new local growth strategy is different. It focuses on consistency, accuracy, and freshness across all of your key sources, anywhere you're cited. It focuses on quality over quantity. I don't want your website out there on a bunch of casino websites and spammy junk places. Google doesn't want that either. Neither do AI crawlers. So making sure that you are featured on quality websites is very important. And finally, active management and updates, things that tell Google and other crawlers that you care about this content and you're constantly refreshing it. If you have a Google business profile, you likely know this, but you'll get mentions all the time where it's like, hey, are your hours going to change for this holiday? Things like that are important. Making sure your hours, your information is accurate and that you're actively managing it is something that Google likes to see. So a well-maintained listing is going to signal to Google that you and your business are real, active, and open for literal business. So this is where your Google business profile comes in. And Google business profiles are different than Google Analytics and Google Search Console. There are a lot of free Google tools out there, all very important, but it's also really important to remember how different they are. So your Google business profile is your map listing, where you show up on a map, and you do not have to show your home address. I get this question all the time. People are wondering, I don't want to show my home, or I am showing my home. How do I hide it? And you can absolutely hide your address in your profile, but you still have to have it on the back end. So if you go Google right now, Duo Collective Minnesota or Duo Collective Minneapolis, you'll be able to see our listing pop up there in maps, and you'll see a service area circled on the map, but you won't see my home address on the background, because I don't want anyone coming to my house to talk about marketing. No offense, love you all, but do not want to do that. So know that you can hide your address, but you do have to have an address, because Google has to verify that you are where you say you are, and that address has to match what your business address is. And unfortunately, since we are an online business, our business address is my home address, which is okay. We will just make that consistent across the board. So here's why Google business profiles really, truly matter. And I don't want you to forget about the other profiles too, like Bing Places and Apple Maps, especially Apple Maps if you have an office, because people with iPhones will use that to get directions to your physical location. But at the end of the day, Google is really the big one. Google is front and center in the local SEO space. So when someone is going to search for something like breweries that allow dogs near me, a plumber in Chicago that can do this specific fix, a brand photographer in Minneapolis with a studio, Google knows right away that location is an indicator. So it's going to pop up a map on that search page. And that visual is almost always the same. It's going to be a map with 3 businesses featured on the left-hand side. Those 3 businesses on the left side, this is called the local 3-pack. And the local 3-pack is more competitive than ever. The average click-through rate for position 1 on the local 3-pack is 42%. That's insane. 42%. Position 2 is almost cut in half, 24%. Position 3 is 15%. But still, imagine if you're not in that local 3-pack. And just to put this into perspective with those traditional blue links underneath the map, position 1 in the traditional blue links is on average about 39.8% from a click-through rate. But the average for a local 3-pack is 42. It's a few percentages higher than being ranked position 1 on Google. And that's because the map is sitting very high on the page. So for these local searches, AI overviews are not the first thing to appear. It's still the map. The map is still holding all of the local power right now, and that isn't your website. That is your Google business profile. So showing up in the top 3 here can make a massive difference for a local business, and why you could be missing so much valuable traffic, because you could be stuck down there in the traditional listings when that 42% click-through rate is happening above you. No one's ever scrolling down. So what are some of these things that influence how well your Google business profile, or any other profiles for that matter, really rank online? So I used to tell my clients and everyone that I kind of worked with, whenever they asked, like, how do I get in the local 3-pack? What's the most important thing? How do I show up really high on maps? And I used to say it was reviews, the number of reviews you have and how high that review is. So the more reviews, the more 5-star reviews, the better you typically rank. And you will see that consistency. So if you go look at the local 3-pack for any local searches, maybe using some of the examples I already gave you, you'll notice that typically the people at the top are the people with the most stars and the highest number of reviews. But there's a new study out there, and I will link this in the show notes so that you can take a peek at it yourself. And they're finding that something else is much more important these days. And to be honest, it really makes sense. The most important thing, they're giving a 35% weight to this, is consistency. A consistency score of having a perfect NAP, so remember, name, address, phone number, matching across all platforms. So name, address, phone number being on your website, on your Google business profile, on Apple Maps, on Bing Places, on directories, on other local citations. The importance of this NAP matching is the most important thing, is what they're saying. That's crazy. So that's something that tells you, especially if you're not consistent about like even the business name you use. Like say you're trying to use your business name, but you're trying to add in keywords in certain places too. So now your business name in multiple different places has business name plus keyword. Now all of a sudden you don't have matching NAPs. That can be confusing for a search engine. And the beauty, we've talked about this before, and we talked about this a little bit in episode 209 when we talked about citations, is having that schema on the back end that connects your business with all of these other platforms too. My business is the same as this Google business profile, this Bing Places listing, this Apple Maps listing. And if you list all of that out, that helps make it a little bit easier for these crawlers to understand that you are one business, one holistic business in all of these different places. So this is number one, consistency with a 35% weight. Number two, they're giving a 25% weight to, and that is freshness signals. So it's things like updating your content in your profile, getting new reviews and actually responding to those reviews, adding photos to your profile, posting updates, so sharing blogs, offers, and sales. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. And active management overall, like I talked about before, just updating your hours, making sure that all of this information is relevant and that you care and that you're updating this regularly. These freshness signals are number two in terms of importance. Then number three, we have aggregator presence. That sounds really jargony, doesn't it? They are giving this a 20% weight. So these are large databases that distribute businesses' information across the internet. So this is actually something we do for our clients. So it's basically something like a tool, like we use SEMrush to do this. And it helps businesses manage and update information consistently across every platform. So the beautiful thing about this is that if you don't have any local citations, you can update your Google business profile. Then you can go to a tool like SEMrush and you can distribute that profile's information across everything. It'll distribute your business across, usually it's around like 40 to 80, sometimes over 100 different directories and distributions. And the amazing part is that this aggregator, this tool, makes sure that all the content is consistent. So this is something we do for our clients. And honestly, I think it's worth it if you have no local citations and if you are a local business like a therapist, a dentist, a trainer, like whatever it may be. If you're a local business, this is probably worth your spend. But I want to share a little word of caution here because I've also seen people get taken advantage of this. So I've seen a lot of times people say, I'm paying $200 for someone to manage my SEO. And then I'm asking why, like, what is it that they're doing? And they're like, I don't know, something with my location. And then you find out that this is exactly what they're doing. They have their business inside a tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush, and they're monitoring it, quote unquote monitoring, But here's the deal. Unless your business changes frequently, like you're constantly changing your hours, maybe your location, maybe your business name changes, maybe, I'm not even sure what else would change, to be honest. NAP, think of NAP, name, address, phone number. If your name, address, phone number consistently change, then yes, you need someone to manage this. I don't know why they would consistently change, to be honest. So here's what we do. We do this as a one-time fee. So I add my clients into SEMrush. I distribute them across the directories. I share the directories with my clients at the end so that they have links to every listing. And then if they want to manually go in and continue to optimize any of those higher priority listings, they can. And they have a direct link to do so and claim the business. But after that's done, I remove them from my system. And when I remove them from my system, I can no longer manage it, but all of their local citations stay. And the only reason I would need to re-add them is if their name, address, or phone number changes. Then they can pay a one-time fee again and have me jump in. But here's the deal. People who are paying $200 for someone to maintain this isn't usually a good use of your dollars unless they're also monitoring your reviews, posting updates, adding photos. Like if they're doing that kind of stuff, which we talked about with the freshness signals, if they're doing that, then yes, maybe that is worth it. But if all they're doing is managing your local citations, that is not a helpful use of your dollars, to be honest. Because at the end of the day, I am all about full transparency here. It cost me about $50 per location a month. So if someone's charging you $200, you're paying a lot more. It is a really good way to make money, right? For the agency, not for you. So again, I'm going to be transparent about this because I'm not in the business of just taking your money. I would rather you spend that on a blog writer, to be honest, and create some content, but know that your NAP is consistent everywhere. So anyways, there's my little rant over with. But if you can prioritize getting your content out there into an aggregator and then letting those local citations sit and the quality and everything is good, then definitely do it, because this is number 3. They're giving this a 20% weight in terms of importance and how your Google business profile ranks. All right, let's jump to number 4. So the fourth thing that they give a 15% weight to is review velocity. This is what I have always said is the most important thing, and they are giving that a 15% weight compared to the consistency score of 35. So it's still important, just not as important as we thought. So reviews matter, but it's not just about the number. They're going to look more at velocity, meaning the consistency in which reviews are coming in. Now, I am very guilty of this. I kind of suck at asking people for testimonials. I'm not going to lie. It's something that I should do consistently. And for some reason, it just falls to the bottom of the list. And we need to prioritize that because consistency matters. And when I fall off the workflow of finished a project, send a testimonial, when I fall off that workflow, I'm losing the consistency of that. So yes, it's good to batch every once in a while and get some reviews, but it's much better to have that consistency over time. A steady stream of reviews is going to signal that a business is active and trusted. And then finally, our last one that gives a 5% weight to it is your schema alignment. So again, we talked about this in episode 209. So if you haven't listened to that episode, I talked a little bit more in depth about structured data and schema. And this information, your structured data, needs to match the information found in your listings. Now, if you are a Squarespace user, listen up, because Squarespace automatically adds structured data to local businesses, and this lives in your settings. So if you haven't filled out your address, your hours, your phone number, and your business information in the settings of your Squarespace, that already right there is going to tell you that you have a disconnect between your Google business profile and your website. So go check your settings, make sure that all of that business profile information is filled out, because that's automatic schema that Squarespace is doing. So make sure you peek at that. This is going to help search engines confidently connect your website to local business profiles. So schema, not just adding schema, but schema accuracy is very, very important. So I will recap this again in the show notes so you can take a peek. So next time you jump in your Google business profile, you can use this as kind of your guide to determine what your plan of action is. So consistency score, freshness signals, continuing to update your content, using an aggregator to distribute your information across databases, getting reviews consistently, and making sure that your schema matches. These are the most important things you can do to show up in that local 3-pack. Now, before you run off and go update your profile, because I know how excited you are to do so, let's talk about 3 Google Business Profile ranking factors that people overlook. These are things that people just forget about or don't give priority to. Number 1 is photos. It is so hard to get photos, even sometimes for our clients when we're optimizing their Google business profile. Sometimes we have to rely on stock photography, which is not my favorite. So even if you are an online business, I cannot stress the importance of having brand photography that is uniquely you. Most businesses only upload a few photos to their Google business profile and then they never touch it again. And Google actually tracks this. Google is tracking photo activity. How often are you adding new photos? How many photos does your listing have compared to your competitors? And what's the engagement on those photos? Are people looking at them? So businesses that regularly add photos, it tends to signal Google that the listing is active and maintained. Remember those freshness scores? So this doesn't have to be fancy. It can be photos of your work, before and after projects, team photos, behind the scenes moments, your storefront or your office. And if you have no idea what kind of photos you need to articulate for your business, ask ChatGPT. Say, what would be some really good photos that I could show on my local business profile, and see what it comes up with. Better yet, go reach out to a brand photographer. They're experts in this space, and they can be the ones to tell you what types of content you need. And the beautiful thing about a brand photo shoot is that you can use that content well beyond just your business profile. You can use it there, sure, and that's going to help enhance your SEO, but now you have an arsenal of content for your website and your social calendar and anything else that you need. So I cannot stress the importance of making sure that you have a really good bundle of brand photos, regardless of what your business is or does. Number 2 is review responses. So we focus so much on getting good reviews and testimonials that oftentimes we forget to actually respond to them when they come in. So Google is going to look at whether business owners are actively engaging with their reviews. Just something simple like, thank you so much for the kind words. We also loved working with you. And I always encourage people, even if it's a negative review, actually, especially if it's a negative review, respond. People care more about your response than they do the actual negative review. So respond to every single review that comes in. And finally, number 3 is posting on Google business profiles. Man, we are guilty of this too. So did you know that Google business profiles allow you to post updates? And most businesses never use this feature. You can share things like announcements, events, promotions, seasonal updates, your most recent podcast or blog post. These almost act like a mini social media update directly inside Google search results. And again, they signal that your business is active and relevant. So even if you're only posting once or twice a month, this can help reinforce those freshness signals. Wow, freshness signals. And the beautiful thing is that you're not going to be like overly populating this space. It's not going to curate a feed like it is on social media, because these disappear after, I believe it's 7, maybe it's 12 days, but they disappear. And then you need new content to come in. So this is actually something that we have very recently instilled into our business. And we have started posting our podcast every week. We already post it on our blog. We already posted on YouTube. We already posted on social media. It's not really that much extra work to take that and post it also in our Google business profile. So that's a really easy way to help reinforce those freshness signals. All right, so you probably noticed a little bit of a trend here, but the trend is that you need to make sure your business is active and your data is consistent. And a lot of people think that local SEO is just about setting up your Google business profile and then leaving it alone. But the businesses that actually perform the best are going to be the ones that treat it like a living profile and update it regularly and keep it maintained. So that's exactly what I want you to do. And if you learned anything new today and you have local business friends, please share this episode with them, because I think this is beyond important for 2026 to make sure that we truly understand what makes the benefit help you show up in that local pack. So share this with a friend, and we'll see you next week.
It's time for a refill. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Duo on Air.
If you loved hanging out with us today, here are 3 quick ways to support the show. 1, subscribe so you never miss a new episode.
2, share this episode with a biz bestie and tag us on Instagram at duo.collective.
And 3, leave a review because we love hearing from you.
Finally, keep sharing your episode ideas. We love creating content for you. Head over to duocollective.com to catch up on all the latest episodes, brand and website makeovers, SEO tips, and so much more.
See you there. Let's duo this thing called business together.